What up, guys? I was talking earlier with Ramsey Dewey, decent channel. Um, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. I don't know if he does a lot of mixed martial arts. He comments on it, but mostly he's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's had some good videos, and I got nothing against the guy, but again, it just brought back this thing that's been going on ever since 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Uh, this story, people have just been ragging on Bruce Lee, saying all sorts of shit about him. And so Ramsey wasn't too bad. He was just saying, uh, Michael Jai White's words weren't that bad. I don't think they were either. He just said, look, Bruce was 135 pounds. I'm 235 pounds. Like, one guy would fight in the UFC's flyweight division. I would struggle to make weight at 205, right? And so that's not bad. I don't think that's very disrespectful. But Ramsey was saying there's only one recorded fight with Bruce Lee in a boxing match when he was in high school. Okay. But again, we're talking he was born in 1940, so that had to be in 1957 or 1958. All this obsession with the cameras now, everybody, how come Bruce wasn't on camera? And funnily enough, I think that's a real word, funnily, MMA guys love Judo Gene LaBelle, right? Supposedly that's where Tarantino got the inspiration for the fight with Cliff Booth and Bruce Lee. A lot of people actually think that movie's real. Newsflash, Sharon Tate died horribly, cut up by psychos because they didn't go to Rick Dalton's house because there is no Rick Dalton or Cliff Booth. They are fictional characters. A fictional character did not beat up Bruce Lee. One is real, the other isn't. The one who isn't did not beat up the one who's real. But the other ones they'll try to say, oh, it's Gene LaBelle. So you're wondering why teenagers in Hong Kong in the 50s didn't capture any of Bruce Lee's street fights on camera. I don't know what cameras looked like back then, but I imagine they were about this tall, about this big, around, with two reels this big on top of them. Yes, why weren't teenagers in 1957 and 58 carrying these around to record their street fights? Okay, so we're just going by witness statement of his friends. They said, Ip Man, if you've seen the movie with Donnie Yen, it's pretty cool. The first one, don't watch the sequels. Encouraged his students, don't just believe me, go test it out against other martial arts schools. In particular, the Japanese kids, because he lost two of his four children and his wife during World War II. So, naturally he held a grudge. And in the British boxing kids, because they were coming over and he didn't like the Brits. So anyway, Bruce was his student that in particular really took his advice on testing him out, aka street fights. So he's saying Bruce only had one fight. It was a boxing match against this kid. He said the kid was like 0-1 or 1-0. He responded back to me. And again, I don't want to argue with the guy. I like the guy. I respect him and his channel's good. But I said, that's 1957. I know people today in 2023 who've had 5, 10, 20, some of them over 30 fights with the Ultimate Combat Experience, Ultimate Cage Fighting, because there was that whole period when the UFC blew up and any dickhead who could get a cage and put 3 letters together, right? King of the Cage, Victory, Ring Wars, okay? Legit fights, and they're not anywhere online. You won't find a Wikipedia page. They're not on ShareDog or any of the sites that are supposed to keep track of these things. So if it's that bad today when they have DVDs, if it's that bad, that even though it's on DVD and it happened and there was a recording, that today's internet people that are supposed to be in charge of this don't write it down, how good at notes do you think they were for high school boxing matches in Hong Kong 1957 or 58? Really? According to other sources, yeah, you can show me a source. Oh, the kid only had one fight. Other sources say that kid won the previous year's tournament. It was a tournament, so Bruce had to get through 2 or 3 guys to get to him, right? To get to the finals. And the kid had won the previous year, right? So I'm going to be an optimist, okay? You can call me a fanboy or whatever. I'm going to be an optimist and say, I believe the priest. who encouraged Bruce to take up boxing and get in there and fight the British kids. I'll take the priest's word for it, okay? Versus other people who, just make it up as they go. And the second thing, I think it's funny, again, going back to Gene LaBelle, who supposedly whipped Bruce's ass on the set of the Green Hornet and whooped Seagal's ass on whatever god-awful movie Seagal was making. And those on the set of Green Hornet and a movie set where there actually were dozens of cameras around with highly trained, experienced cameramen, and there's not a single second of footage of either one, but people believe that, right? You'll believe that the Gene beat. Well, you believe Hollywood keeps a big red monster in the basement named Gene LaBelle in a glass case that says "break" in the event that a $1 million movie star needs to get put in their place. You believe that. You believe it happened in front of 20 cameras, just none of them were rolling at the time. But you wonder why there isn't footage of 1950s, okay, we're going back 70 years now, of teenagers fighting and street fights, right? Okay, so another legendary fighter, Rickson Gracie, right? The oldest brother, supposed to be the best. He's 400-0. He's 400. Now he's saying 450-0. It's probably closer to that. Okay, 11 official. 11 plus 1, 10 plus 1, right? Official. He beat up a couple old Japanese pro wrestlers, officially. But people will still argue he's the greatest, even though he's decades later in the 90s, 80s and 90s, when there were more handheld cameras. There's even stories of people doing a dojo storm, right? You come to a guy's dojo, challenge into a fight, which is a jerk thing to do, to be honest. If it's not, at least call the guy first, set up a time. But dojo storm. Anyway, there were people that showed up with the camera and said, "Hey, Rickson, this guy wants to fight you." And Rickson would take the guy and the other, but made the cameraman and the camera and all witnesses stay outside. There were people who tried to record Rickson fighting, and he would say, "Go wait outside." So we don't know what actually happened. And then Rickson would come out and say, "Well, I won." We don't know that because only the two of you went in there. You wouldn't even let a witness go in. You believe, but you still believe he's 400-0. You still believe that, but you don't believe teenagers in the 1950s were getting in street fights because they didn't have one of the 200-pound projectors back then to carry around with them. Okay. So anyway, yeah, it's just a silly story. It's just getting ridiculous. They said, "Well, he never fought MMA." That's true. UFC started in 1993. He died in 1973. I don't need reminding. Chael reminded me 3 times. I love Chael, but damn, dude, you reminded me 3 times this year that 1973 happened before 1993. I don't need that reminder. What are you doing? I just, and I'm not a fanboy, but I give respect where respect is due. Look at the whole evolution of MMA, right? There was a period for you newer fans where they thought all kicks are useless until Marco Ruas fought Paul Valhearns at UFC 7. Leg kicked the crap out of him, and he won. And then they said, "Okay, but kicks above the waist are useless. That's movie stuff." Until Pete Williams landed a shin to the chin of Mark Coleman, and he was out. And they said, "Oh, okay, roundhouse." But any other type of kick, spin kick, until David Loiseau folded, I want to say Charles McCarthy in half with a spinning back kick, followed by a flying knee. Check that one out. I think it was UFC 51. Okay. Oh, okay, but the spinning back kick, they couldn't admit that karate and kung fu and taekwondo had good things to offer, so they called it like a spin Thai kick or something. And then, okay, but the front kicks and the side kicks, and now we see Conor McGregor and John Jones using in the oblique kick, right? The crossover to the guy's knee, the side kick, the front kick. All useless, right? Until we see John Jones and Conor McGregor and Kung Lee using them to control distance all the time. So, and the spin wheel kick. No, that's movie flash. That's definitely spin back kick. Sure, it's a straight kick to the body, but a spin wheel kick. No, that's just Jackie Chan stuff he does in his movies. That wouldn't until Edson Barboza is losing to something Edom, and boom! Oh wait, you mean a heel on a 6-foot radius, spinning 30 miles an hour to the side of your head can knock a guy out? Yeah, no shit. So I give credit to Bruce because he was born in 1940. He didn't have someone to grab him by the Johnson and show him these moves by example. He was born in 1940, and he was doing all those techniques, guys. He wrestled in college. He was a black belt in judo. Flip through his book, Jeet Kune Do, you'll see all the moves, the triangles, the rear naked chokes. You'll see it all. And he was born in 1940. So I'm not saying he could whip anybody in the UFC. I think it's stupid. People always jump right. Yeah, could he beat Ngannou? Like, why do you... If you're trying to tell me a 135-pound man is a fraud, why are you jumping right to a 285-pound man? What? So everybody besides Miocic and Derek Lewis are frauds? Nobody else can beat that freaking guy either. You know, so that's stupid. I'm just saying if he was born in 1990, a guy, he would probably do pretty well. And I think 90%, remember, these guys all needed other people to go do all the techniques I just listed before they had the balls to even try it, or for the foresight to train it. So, yeah, I think he deserves some credit considering 90% of today's UFC roster, their athletic career would have been over the second high school wrestling was over. They wouldn't know a rear naked choke from a key lock if they were born in 1940. So I just think the guy deserves more respect than, yeah, I could kick the shit out of that guy knowing what I know now. No, well, maybe, sure. But if you were born in 1940, you would have just been a judo guy. You would have just wrestled in high school. You would have just been a karate guy. You would have just been a boxer. And yeah, a guy who, master Wing Chun, a boxing champion, wrestled in high school, black belt or college, black belt judo, trained jiu-jitsu, trained kickboxing and boxing, would have kicked the shit out of you, dude. He would have. All right, so that's it. I'm just saying, I think he deserves a little more freaking respect, and just it's this new trend of just everybody's like looking for clout by shitting on Bruce Lee, and it's pretty stupid. And again, the camera thing, yeah. Teenagers, you need it in 1950s should have been carrying cameras, big 200-pound projectors with them, but you believe guys who make cameras and all witnesses wait outside, and Gene LaBelle, you think a production studio pays these actors millions of dollars. I'm sure Seagal got $1 million in that movie, and you're gonna have somebody else rough him up? Shut up. God, that's retarded. Why would you believe that, but not a guy got in street fights in the 1950s? Anyway, that's all I got for now. And if you watch till now, come on, hit subscribe. It's free. It takes you a second. If you watch till now, you owe me. You owe me that. Come on.